Okay, let's first go into this. This was like our Monday morning, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Typically Monday morning before we do our meeting, so it's early in the morning and we talk about sports early. So the first topic is what happened to the wonderful refereeing in the two NFC and AFC games. What happened?
I've read a headline that Goodell can actually overturn the Saints game. Not that he would, but he can overturn the Saints game.
What are they going to do?
They actually
Replay the game again?
I read a headline.
Did you?
Yeah.
I think
In the history of the game, it's never happened.
I preface that by saying I don't think
it's
it's
never going to
would.
happen
I
going
don't think
forward.
so.
he's a stiff,
Right.
and he's run by the owners.
Right. He gets
He's
his paycheck from 32 teams.
Yeah, he's getting paid $25 million a year from the owners. Yeah, I don't think he's going to turn on them.
No, he's not going to turn on them. And if they made a mistake, guess what? What's different than the rest of the season? The only thing different was this was a playoff game to determine who's going to the Super Bowl. They made the same calls, the same lousy calls throughout the whole season.
They did. The referee, the umpiring this year was terrible.
The game's too fast.
The game's too fast. I think the argument that you need full-time referees is partially an issue. These guys work a normal job and then do this on the weekend.
Yeah, and I get the whole thing with holding calls. There's all sorts of mess going in, but this call, if you look at the angle that they had, the shot.
You mean on the interference?
On the pass interference call.
Pass interference.
But if you look at the angle, you could see the referee was on the left side of the thing, which means the referee was standing here when the play took place where you are.
Yeah.
I mean, what is he looking at?
It wasn't even a bang play.
No,
Not even close.
I don't know. I don't understand how you can miss that.
There was time to look at that. Bad calls. Terrible calls in one day. Terrible calls in both games.
Question for you.
Not a call. Calls.
Question for you, because they do it in basketball. Is it time to be able to challenge penalty calls and no calls?
The thing about it is, how long would the game get?
You're talking
it
about
could be
a 5
hours.
hour game.
Yeah.
And at what point do you say, okay, you've had your number, your fair share of requests for reviews? You can question literally every single play.
Yeah.
Because every play, there's a holding, there's a block in the back. There is.
Right, there's
a block in the back.
Listen, Mahone will be the face of the NFL for the next 15 years.
Yes.
Okay. Brady played a good game. He did. Played a good game.
Always does.
Edelman played a phenomenal
game.
Phenomenal game. And the Patriots won. And I was happy to see Brady win. I'll tell you why. I think this was his most satisfying win that he's had. I could see his expressions and his face at 41 or almost 42. I could see when he said to his wife, "I love you," and just to hear him, because he knew time is short.
Well, this is probably also the first time in how many years that everybody said they can't do it. They're not good enough this year.
This year, every time they lost or even came close to losing, it's over. Brady's done.
Right.
They're on the downside now. There'll be a new champion. And don't think that doesn't eat at him. This guy had a chip on his shoulder from the day he was drafted in the 5th or 6th round when he thought he was better. And he still carries that chip on his shoulder. Now it's, you're too old to play. No, I'm not.
He's got more money than God. He's not doing it for the money.
No, he's not doing it for the money.
And his wife has
more money than both of them.
But I don't think it's about money with them.
No, not at all.
I think you have a guy who's been unbelievable in the locker room. And I don't mean as a friend.
As a motivator.
As a motivator.
Yeah.
And pushing people. And I think it's incredible what he's done for that many years. I really do. He's an incredible athlete. And the way he takes care of his body is remarkable.
I read that book you gave me.
At 41 and a half or 42, being out there in an NFL game and being a star at that age.
Yeah.
And just keeping your body in that kind of shape, because they were showing tapes, I call them tapes, of games. And even though he wasn't sacked a load this year, he was getting hit 15 times a game.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he wasn't taking shots. And the average person couldn't take one of those shots.
His age,
for sure.
there was one play in the game, like the first time in the game that he got hit, and it was really just a push. But a push means a 6'5" guy fell down, landed on his arse, banged his head off the turf,
right.
and the turf, it was
Frozen
what,
turf.
8 degrees at the
Right,
game.
yeah, it was like concrete.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that happened to us, we're not
We'd be
getting
out.
up.
No,
You
right.
know, he gets up.
So
and-
listen. I think that was incredible. Interesting. I'll change the topic. Now you hear that thing that came out yesterday about Wentz. For people in Philadelphia, for people not in Philadelphia, we're the teammates.
The anonymous teammates said
Said.
What did they say?
Well, they said they don't like him.
they don't like him. He's selfish.
He's selfish. He
Pick a bad characteristic.
He picks one receiver like Zach Ertz,
Right.
which was true.
Which was
true.
Which is what he did.
Right.
And
Foles was kind of doing the same thing though with Alshon, wasn't he?
full spreads
Full
Spreads around.
Yeah, he
And
does.
Look, some quarterbacks have a guy who's their go-to guy. He looks like he's open. You go to him.
Yep.
And maybe it was because he didn't have confidence because earlier in the game he went to somebody else. At the end of the day, if Ertz is catching the passes, that's what he's getting paid to do. That's what you're supposed to do. Yes, you spread it around, but maybe the guys weren't open. Maybe he didn't have confidence in them.
You know, but at the end of the day,
maybe he doesn't see the field that well.
And
they went through
that was the
that's
other
right.
side
And
of the coin.
At the end
Exactly.
of the day, they went through that stretch where they just kept losing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes out, and Foles comes in. All of a sudden, Foles completes 8 of his first 9 passes to 7 different people.
Mm-hmm.
They're winning,
And you're spreading the ball around.
and they're spreading the ball around.
everybody's
So it is about results.
It is. It is. And listen, who knows? My biggest thing with him is he's had a lot of injuries in a couple years.
He's a young man who's brittle. And and the injuries that he had are not like a wrist, a knee, an ankle. He's had back injuries. And
No,
that's something.
and when you look at him, compare him with golf.
Mhm.
Okay, and there's no comparison.
We kept thinking we had the steal.
We did.
Because the Rams won in golf.
Everyone thought that golf was a stiff.
Yeah,
That it was a bust.
and he's far from it.
And then you brought McVay in, the quarterback whisperer.
And
And
true.
the guy is remarkable. Remarkable accuracy.
He's like 32, isn't he?
No.
Jared,
25,
Jared
24,
Goff is
23.
free.
I'm talking about the
no, he's
coach.
talking about McVay.
Oh, McVay's next.
Oh,
He's
McVay's
young.
Young
Yeah.
guy.
32 the other day.
Yeah, there's like 4 players on the team older than him.
Yeah.
32
Nuts.
years old,
Yeah.
Tom. Incredible. Incredible work ethic and
Oh yeah, good for him.
just
He's an animal. You can
Yeah.
tell when he has that intensity. in his
look.
face, man.
He's an animal. I said the same thing. I said this guy is so focused
Yeah,
in the prime, mentally in the prime of his life.
sure.
And you look at it, but I don't know. I mean,
But that's the so-called draft experts. This one's going to be better. This one's got better mechanics. At the end of the day, when you take a player and you got a good coach and you coach him up well, they can turn out to be a good player. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, say what you want about him in here in Philadelphia.
And he's a tremendous coach.
He turned this kid Mahomes into a pretty good quarterback.
He's
and
a
the
player.
results that
He's a
got
player's coach.
were pretty good too. So, change of scenery was fine for Andy Reid. It worked out well. He got himself a great find in the draft as well. So coaching has something to do with it. Talent has something to do with it. And, the players on the field that you're playing with have something to do with it too.
But also you got a guy like Mahomes who is incredibly marketable because he's not your typical me guy.
No, he's
and he's very much. He's not a loud, obnoxious guy.
he's just the
He's
opposite.
a very focused
actually.
young guy.
Yeah.
I just get a kick out of a guy who, when the defensive lineman comes in and he's 350 pounds and he's rushing with his hands in the air, he just drops down and throws it sidearm, right on target. Like, okay, that's
Just
incredible.
that's those baseball skills.
Right. Yep.
He's
got some good bloodlines
he's an
there.
incredible athlete.
Yeah.
Incredible. But I think that I think Wentz. I think they got to take a look at him. Not that Foles is a long-term answer.
Foles is not.
I don't think he is, but I like him, and I think the character he has is unbelievable.
He's got a great.
He's the guy that everyone would want to hang out with because he's just a
Absolutely.
normal guy.
Yep.
Foles.
Yeah.
Nick
Everybody
Foles.
has said that he's a really good leader.
He's a good leader.
What people were saying.
They love him. No sooner did Carson Wentz go down than Chris Long take his locker and create this shrine to to Nick Foles, and that was not. I think if you read between the lines on that, he was saying, "Here he comes, here we go again," and they did.
But you have another high character guy, Chris Long.
Chris Long, and-
with another guy, high character guy with yeah.
Yeah, and you just so many changes are going to happen with the Eagles now, and you just hope Chris Long stays around for the locker room.
The other thing we were talking about the Eagles. The other thing, how about listen, I'm a college football fanatic, and Lou and I have had our debates.
Oh, we agree
about many teams.
Yeah, Penn State
in
especially.
college.
Yeah.
Well,
The only thing we agree on is Penn State.
You guys disagree.
You
with that.
agree to disagree.
well, we talk about Penn State.
Yeah.
And Penn State now, and I said to Lou, I said this the other day, that they have the most graduate transfers in the country.
Yeah,
I think double.
they have no bench left anymore because they all left.
Because you know what's happening there, and I give him credit, even though I don't think he's a good game day coach.
Agreed.
Franklin, I give him credit that he's going for the big time. He is finally going for the big time and getting rid of a lot of the players who probably shouldn't have been there. And I've said this to Lou. I said, Lou, the Big Ten right now is not a good conference.
No.
It's a really average conference. And he's trying to make a move to the next level. He's gone out and has gotten recruiters who can recruit in Florida.
Yes.
And recruit in Texas.
Yep.
And recruit in California.
Yep.
And recruit now in other areas. And that's what he's done. And he's going after, they just had a great signing the other day. Saturday.
Yeah.
Or Sunday.
Right. If you look at the
other guy was?
He's a lineman.
Devon Ellis.
Yeah.
He's 6'2", I think 288.
He was somewhat short but big, but
he's thick.
Yeah, and you can get away with that.
He's thick, and let me tell you what he has. He's thick with attitude.
Oh.
And they need to get those guys, because you and I have agreed on this, is the most underdeveloped Big Ten team.
And it's about.
I don't know what kind of weight program that they're doing. I think that the running back last year, Barkley, was the only guy who lifted weights in the team.
Yeah, they show pictures of everybody standing around watching
him and not doing it themselves.
It's incredible. I've never seen offensive linemen with such weak. You look at them compared to Iowa, it looks like an amateur team.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because Penn State suffered from no depth. They had talent on the field when they had their starting 22. But beyond that, if someone went down, the next person up was like, ooh.
Well, and you look at they did a good piece this year on game day, and they showed the offensive line in Iowa, and they were interviewing these guys. A couple guys had real long hair and stuff, and the guy said, "Who wouldn't like this?" He said, "I eat all day, I lift weights all day," and he said, "Life is good."
Those corn-fed,
I put things down.
And
Midwestern.
I say that with kind of a joke. A couple of those guys are pretty bright kids. Those offensive
line
linemen
definitely are.
But where are they going? I think they're going to try to compete in the top 10 every year.
You go big or go home.
Yeah, because let's face it. You take the Big Ten. I mean, the cream of the crop of the Big Ten is Ohio State, and Michigan's a far second.
Yeah.
But Ohio State is the cream of the crop of the Big Ten.
Wisconsin, Nebraska, Iowa, they're all trying to come back. They're all trying. Wisconsin, Nebraska has a great coach now.
And Scott Frost, and they're going to get back to what they did before. Mm-hmm. And Penn State, either if they don't elevate, they will deflate. And then you got to get Rutgers out of that conference.
That's right. They don't belong there.
And there's talk about these super conferences.
That almost happened a few years ago.
Yeah, they did. And there's talk about, there is talk, people have heard it, Texas and Oklahoma may join the Big Ten. Wow.
That would change the dynamic of the conference.
Boy,
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Yep.
Think about that. Wow.
Yeah, that would be something great to have happen.
Does Pittsburgh still have a football team?
Pittsburgh has a football team.
No stadium, but a football team. I'm sorry, Mike.
That's okay. Hey, look. Who's the defensive player of the year?
Must play for Pitt.
No, he doesn't. I'm talking about in the NFL.
Oh, NFL.
NFL.
He plays for the Rams.
Aaron
Donald.
Yeah.
Where do you go to school?
Pitt.
Right. Every now and then they turn out a good player. That's their whole purpose. Once in a while, there will be a guy that comes that rises to the top.
Well, he's elevated Pitt in the ACC.
He has. And look, Pitt in all seriousness
championship game
belongs in the same division as Temple. Pitt wants to be a big boy and cannot compete.
Ultimately, the biggest topic I'll bring up is you're going to have to start paying these kids.
Yes.
Come on. The universities are making boku
so much money off these
boku dollars, and these kids are getting their bodies beat up. And why shouldn't they get money? They don't have enough money to go out to eat.
Well, that's it.
I understand.
They'll get $100,000 scholarship.
I understand.
They can't afford to go to Wendy's.
Listen, I understand people say, "Oh, they're getting a college scholarship." I don't know if people understand
what they're doing.
Take Penn State or take a big school. That football program funds every other sport.
Right.
Oh yeah.
At that school.
Right.
Should those kids get paid?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Guess what? Then you would keep them. You wouldn't have kids leaving as early.
Right.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. I think
it's a mess.
I don't know how you develop a pay scale because it just how do you pay Trace McSorley? How do you determine what a Trace McSorley makes versus what the guy who's fourth on the depth chart for strong safety makes? I
don't know if you can get that technical.
But what I'm saying is the guy who's
problem.
fourth on the depth chart, in theory, and I would hope in practice, is having the same amount of workouts, the same amount of time, the same amount of everything. He just doesn't have either the position or the talent or both.
Yeah.
To I think it's lifestyle. I think it's the ridiculous things like a coach can't buy a kid a plane ticket from Pennsylvania to California to go to a grandparent's funeral. I mean, I think that's
over
lunacy.
ridiculous.
So I think, look, they have to work that out. I agree with you, and I don't know the answer. But the biggest thing, the biggest peeve I have, the biggest bothersome thing I have this year is these kids coming out of high school. I mean, I know it's always been, they do something at their school and they sit there and then sign their letter with their school. But this is crazy.
They're making telephone stars out of 17-year-olds.
These kids
they're holding press conferences
all over, and they hold the coaches hostage.
Yeah.
But let's face facts.
Well, if you pay these kids, that's going to get even worse.
I don't know. It's. I think they need money, else they're not going to stay. They're going to look to get out as quickly as they can.
To what degree, though? Because you don't want these kids driving around and
No,
Mercedes
you're not talking about that kind of money.
I don't think you can do that.
You're talking about money that's common sense money. Like a kid can't afford to go out to McDonald's or to Wendy's to get a meal, like Lou said. And there's probably been dozens of instances to travel home for a family crisis, a funeral, a mother or father sick. The coach says, "I'll pay for it." Completely above board, NCAA says,
"Well, we're not going to figure it out, but something needs to be done." And you have a point. The other side I'm saying is you get these kids out of high school, they're ready to sign, right?
Right.
And they have 40 offers,
right,
or 30 offers, or 25,
right.
And it's a game.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's they're in Hollywood, man.
They're stars. But they've been stars since they're 12. You've got coaches offering 8th graders.
But the parents have to hold them in check a little bit, and they don't. And that's where the guy like Barkley, whatever his parents did, they did one hell of a job. Because I'll tell you, talk about a kid who was at least somewhat grounded.
Yeah, but a lot of the times it's the parents that have been banking on this for 17, 18 years.
No, I get it. Tom.
They've been waiting for this.
Tom, the reality is they're living below poverty.
Right.
And I get it. And it's the ticket out of hell. Mm-hmm. And everyone's behind that kid. But there has to be a happy medium to it. But then the other side of it's this. Not that many Scott Frosts in the country.
Well, no.
These college coaches this year, Lou, they bowled it all over.
Oh, that whole situation with the Manny Diaz with Miami and Temple.
It was awful. It was awful.
And
it was the right deal for Diaz.
Well, absolutely.
But it's just the way it happened.
There's got to be a compromise.
Go through it.
There's got to be
a coach.
You can't hold
days.
Right, but you can't hold. It's complicated because Manny Diaz says, "Okay, I have a choice. I'm going to Temple." Then they fire the coach and offer the job back to Manny Diaz. I don't blame them for taking it. Okay, it's Temple versus Miami. I think Temple had 14 or 17 recruits that were signed that are now locked in They're locked into Temple.
Yeah.
The head coach left to go back. The first place that I look at and say, here's where it starts, is Miami.
You know what?
For going back to Manny Diaz. And
Lou, I think in a situation like that, I think NCAA rules, if there's a change of coach right now, those kids can transfer.
they couldn't.
No, there should be a rule.
There should be.
I thought they were allowed to transfer.
Yeah, they're not. And
So that's a bad deal for the kids.
it is a bad deal for the
But
kids.
you know what? If you're going to Temple, you're not buying a coach.
Well, they were. Back when they had that rule, they were.
Well,
And-
not really. Rule was there for
But he was
3
there for
years.
3 or 4 years.
He was-
yeah.
Well,
That's-
it's a stepping stone job.
Right.
Sure.
If you do a good job at
You know?
Temple, some other college is going to offer you,
Yeah.
big time college is going to
Tem-
offer you the job.
We'll close with this. Temple needs to decide if they're going to build a stadium and if they want to have a football program. That's what they need to decide.
Yes.
Because, and if they do decide they want it, they need to get local talent who's going to stay here. They need to get the guy who they hired under Manny Diaz, Infante, who was the head coach at St. Joe Prep.
Yep.
Train this guy, and eventually in 5 years, 4 years, let him be the coach. He's Philly grown, and he'll want to stay here.
Well, and I'm not in favor of coaches staying at schools for 25 years, but Temple's the kind of school that could use a 25-year coach.
Yeah, and a new
Give it some
stadium.
stability.
And a new stadium.
Yeah, a place to play to call their own.
Are they halting that? I thought they were going to build that.
Too many politics in this city.
It's
trying
the
to tear
city
down-
and it's the state.
10 square blocks in North Philly.
Right. All of a sudden, you have depressed land that nobody would buy for $1 that they're going to have to pay thousands of dollars for the rights to build a stadium.
Because a lot of the politicians bought up the land
Right.
years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
you're absolutely correct.
That's exactly what it is, and they want their and you know what? If it's eminent domain,
Sure.
which means they have to sell,
Right.
it'll be the top dollar.
Of course. Of course.
And that's at the city and
How
state
many,
level.
how many people they're going to have to relocate? And what,
Anyway, at this
that's
time,
what
now we got to get to real serious work. This is our
we do that.
sports report that we do in the morning,
Transition.
and they'll get more heated and better.
this is
Welcome
good.
to our world.
We
on
appreciate
morning,
it.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the Steelers this week.
Well, we'll talk about that next week.
Talk
Got
about
a
drama queens, Jiminy Crickets. That'll be like 3 podcasts for what's going on there. But you know something?
No, we're
this
done.
past week,
We're done.
we're not going to talk about anything. Okay.
We're done.
Okay, good.
25 minutes. I got to go to work.
All
It's
right.
actually been 23. Do you want to add just a quick thing?
I was just
about-
going to talk about John Bogle for a
Go
second.
ahead. Go
John
ahead.
Bogle, there you go.
You know, John Bogle passed away, and he was kind of a legend in this area
Absolutely.
here.
There's a legend all over.
But you know, and he came up with this whole creative
This
idea
area,
of
where you live in Ireland.
Well,
So what areas are you talking about?
well, I'm talking about South Philly,
Oh,
North Philly,
okay,
West
all right.
Philly, East Philly. But he created Vanguard. He created the indexing idea, and he said everybody really should do it. He brought the low cost thing down. But one of the things he says was that the average investor should buy an index fund. Why? Because you want to achieve what the index does. You can't beat the index. And he said the small investor who thinks you can beat the index, you're wrong. Why? Because, and he saw this with the Wellington funds, he said the pros can't beat the markets. If the pros can't beat the markets, how are you or I or any guy who's trying to self-direct think they can beat the markets consistently year after year? We happen to agree with him. We want people to say, you know what? If I can get a good rate of return when the market goes up, but one step better, not lose money when the market goes down, we can show you how to do that. We take John Bogle's philosophy, we believe in it, and we kind of show you a little better way to do it as well too, because you can't beat the market and the pros can't beat the market. Think about that.
Absolutely.
So that's what we'd want to leave this on, I think.
Yeah, completely agree.
See you next week. See you next week.
Take care.
Thank you.
All of us at Secure Retirement Strategies sincerely hope that you have found this podcast informative. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call at 866-481-5211. You can also visit us on the web at srsstrategies.com. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, and you can also find this podcast in audio-only format on iTunes. Thanks.